They changed careers during the illness. Here's why. Sarah Webb was caring for animals at the zoo and aquariums before shifting to her current job as a death doula, assisting terminal patients. Brandon Ailes, he once was a restaurant owner, now drives an Amazon delivery truck. Americans are leaving their jobs in record numbers for new ventures, whether it's because of a change of heart or a new need to survive. In August, 4.3 million workers called it quits, according to the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics. From the hospitality industry to healthcare, people across the U.S. are changing course, and in many cases, leaving jobs unfilled. NBC News asked people to share their stories of what they switched careers during the pandemic and planning on quitting their jobs. And here's what they had to say. So we have a senior financial analyst became stay-at-home mom. It took the pandemic for me to see that my son needed me. I was on a fast track going nowhere, working long hours at work, worrying about not missing my hair appointments, making sure the house was decorated for the holidays, making it to the school meetings and events on time, vacations, meals, doctor's appointments. The list goes on, but I didn't realize I never took time to get to know my son. That is absolutely heartbreaking. And to be able to take that money, and just be able to say, hey, I'm gonna take a step back and get to know, my son is huge. From a pastor to a business owner, I'm an outside the box thinker, and where I was serving, they were more used to a traditional approach. So a lot of people were uncomfortable with my methods. The anxiety caused by the illness and the retirement of a longtime lead pastor exacerbated these feelings, and I didn't want to be the cause of a conflict in the church. I also have disabled children whose disabilities needed me home to help with them when crises strike. I started my own business using games like Dungeons and Dragons to help people make others' lives better. I'm bridging the lives of disabled and non-disabled people to help non-disabled people become more familiar and empathetic, and I'm employing disabled people in the production of the materials. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's Dale in West St. Paul, Minnesota. Restaurant owner to Amazon truck delivery driver, right? After receiving no major funding or bailouts except for the initial PPP loan, we were forced to close our restaurant. That's horrible. A once successful and thriving business. It's been a painful year, and I had to do something to put food on the table. That's Brandon in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Club manager to office manager. The club had closed because of the illness and scheduled to move locations, which is still being built today. I have applied for many jobs. Being 58, it is hard to find a job. Seems like everyone wants to make me a janitor. Wow. That's Frank in Portland, Oregon. Accounts receivable specialist to mystery shopper. I was doing mystery shopping as a part-time gig on the side, and I wanted to see if I could make it a full-time gig. So I will have to see if I can make more at the end of the year, but I get to do my own schedule, and I'm much happier place. Lana from Liberty, Missouri. Industrial construction to DoorDash. I got laid off before the illness. My partner got lung cancer. That's terrible. And I started door dashing to be home with her. That's Rita from Mesquite, Nevada. Assisted living resident aide to bank teller. The decline of the elderly not being able to physically touch their loved ones or anyone other than their spouse, limiting their socializing. They couldn't even eat out with each other. They couldn't even eat with each other. Very hard to watch, and them questioning why, and me not being able to give them an end date. That's Kelly in Keystone, Iowa. Civil engineer to a life coach for widowed moms. My husband died in 2019, and I joined the group shortly after. When the illness hit, focusing on civil engineering while my kids were remote learning became increasingly difficult. So I left my job at the same time. I was talking to my life coach about how I could help other widowed moms like myself, so I joined her team. It's Jamie in Broomfield, Colorado. I mean, this just goes on. I'm just going to start reading. Development and communication specialist to content creator entrepreneur. That's Maggie in Philadelphia. I'll read that one. Working for myself full time was always my goal, but it wasn't until after over a year in the illness that it finally felt like it was the right time. So much loss had happened during the illness. There is kind of a YOLO attitude I picked up. If not now, then when? Because tomorrow isn't promised. Animal care at zoos and aquariums, the death doula. That's Sarah in Chattanooga. You got the corporate collections for an elevator company to a spa desk worker. I'm making $10 an hour less and only getting about 25 hours a week. The elevator industry is a niche market. I had no choice but about accepting my new job. Sixth grade teacher to mortgage business. Bartender to emergency room registration. A food service worker to a food truck business owner. I like that to hear that. The toxicity in my workplace. I was laid off for 6 months during the illness, and the quality of life literally skyrocketed. Or the quality of my life literally skyrocketed. I was called back to work in September 2020, and it really brought to light how toxic my workplace had really become. In August of this year, I had the opportunity to purchase a small food truck with my daughter, so I jumped on the chance, quit my job of 10 years, and I have never been happier. That's great job from Kara in Eugene, Oregon. So, yeah, this is part of what we've been talking about here on the Entrepreneurs of like, it's not just, stimulus checks. It's not just, people taking advantage of different programs and staying home and not doing the things that they should be doing. But it's also people just moving their life around, and giving more thought to like what's really important to them and how they want to live their life. Because tomorrow is not a promise to anyone. And that's why, I always preach when it's like, look, you could start a business, but if you're not building that business for your lifestyle, the lifestyle that you want to live so you can be happy in that moment of, or at least 80 to 90%, maybe even 70%, as low as 70% of the time, then what are you doing? Why are you doing it? It's not owning, a business isn't necessarily for everyone. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But at the worst case scenario, even if you're watching this as because you love, you love your side hustle and you're like, well, maybe I can make it, maybe I couldn't, but I really don't like what I'm doing as my main income source. Maybe it's time to go and find a new main income source. Obviously, there are worker shortages in places. It's different. We talked about it in the last video where somebody applied for 60 jobs in 30 days and got one interview out of that. It does kind of, paint a picture, but what I want people to be happy with the decisions that they're making and the life that they are choosing to live. It doesn't have to be the way it is, and owning a business is not necessarily the answer for everybody. Having a side hustle, probably, but not necessarily owning a business day in and day out. And that's where, making sure that what you're doing in your day job is advancing you in your life and your career and just how you feel, and making sure that you're not exposing yourself day in and day out to a toxic environment.